Awesome. Yeah, well, first of all, let's thank everybody for tuning in. We appreciate the audience that's checking this video out right now today. This is the first AI Accelerate podcast in a going to be a long series of great content that we're going to be putting out for a long time. And I'm just really thrilled that you guys have tuned in to check out what we have to say today. And the topic for today is going to be really is for sales leaders and talking about sales challenges and we're going to talk a little bit about our AI sales agent and kind of what makes it a great option for sales leaders and sales teams. But first, let me introduce myself. I'm Greg Onoprijenko. I'm the Chief Revenue Officer with AI Xccelerate. Very excited to be leading sales and marketing responsibilities for the company. Yeah, just really anxious to kind of get into it. Sales is my thing. I love the topic for today, and we'll can't wait to dive in. Raul, why don't you introduce yourself?
Sure. Thank you, Greg. Thank you, everybody. This is a long pending thing. We have been talking almost every week about starting a podcast, but it's never too late, right? So, thank you for tuning in. This is Rahul Bhavsar. I'm the founder and CEO of AI Accelerate. And today we're going to talk about sales for real world sales leaders, what challenges they have in the modern AI era, and how we can help them. Over to you, Greg.
Yeah, sure. So, what we're basically going to do, we're going to divide the podcast into kind of two sections today. We're going to spend the first part talking about sales leaders and their challenges in general, right? There's, sales leaders and sales teams face a lot of challenges, a lot of pressure on them to get deals done. And so I think some of the challenges have changed in recent years. So we'll dive into that a little bit. But again, talk about more of the challenges. And then we're going to switch gears and spend some time talking about our AI sales agent Joy. We've developed a really creative, really exciting technology that's going to really help sales teams be more productive and hopefully close more sales. So we'll dive into that towards the end of the podcast. But first, let's talk about sales leaders, Raul, and just to set the stage, you obviously know me and my career, but some of the audience may not. I've been in, technology my entire career. I've had a lot of different roles, built companies and run organizations. But really, at the heart of my skill set is sales. Right, I started out in as a sales rep in my career. Spent many years in different roles, but always had sales responsibilities, driving revenue, lots of hiring, lots of developing of sales teams. Fast forward all the way to today, right? And that's still my primary focus is driving sales, managing opportunities, and making sure that we hit our revenue goals. So I've got a lot of experience in it. I think I'm a good voice for it. So we'll find out. Let's see how the conversation goes today. But
Absolutely.
you've got a few questions that you wanted to kind of kick things off with. So
Yeah.
let's
Yeah.
talk sales.
First of all, thank you for the background. You are absolutely right. You are the voice of the sales leader in this world. You've been in tech sales. I've been in sales, but I've been playing around with technology, platform, product management. So I'm kind of a mixed bag here, but you are a pure sales leader. You're my ideal customer in a sense when it comes to pitching, positioning, and understanding what are your challenges. So, what I wanted to start today is what are the typical sales leader challenges today in the modern world, right? So, uh, sales has not changed in decades. End of the day, you have a product, you have a service, and then you go and sell, whether it is B2B or B2C. But time over time, the technology era, the way we sell, everything has changed. Why don't you summarize from your point of view what are the challenges of a sales leader in this today's modern world, where it is not only social media but AI also has hopped onto this specifically post COVID, right? Because I think the world is totally different post COVID, and that is a good wrap up, which you want to start with saying, hey, this is the challenges which you think you are facing, and we'll try to see how we can answer it.
Yeah, well, thanks for the question, and I've got a kind of a handful of answers that I can go through, and I've had the privilege of meeting with a number of sales leaders, even just over the past 60 days, 90 days, as we've been pushing our business, and so some of the challenges are kind of traditional challenges that have kind of plagued sales teams and sales leaders for many years, and some of them are more recent things that have popped up. But probably the number one I continue to hear from sales leaders of today and of yesterday is everyone needs more pipeline, right? Everyone needs more opportunities. They need qualified leads. I've never met a sales leader yet that says I'm completely satisfied with our pipeline. You know what I mean? There's always pressure to find more prospects, increase the quantity of the opportunities and the quality of the opportunities that we're pursuing. So definitely lead generation, pipeline generation is, I would say, the number one challenge for most sales leaders that I talk to. What do you think about that?
When you say it's a headache of only sales, I think in the world it should be a headache of marketing leaders also, right? So I totally get it. But the world where you and I both come from, I think we both generally think that the getting the demand generation is generally a sales leader's responsibility, and I totally agree. So this is definitely something which is almost on top of everybody's mind. I also talk to a lot of business leaders. The only thing they want is more business.
You mentioned something interesting a minute ago. You said, we're talking sales leaders, but you said marketing has a responsibility for leads and building pipeline, right? And I agree 100%. One of the reasons for this, I think, I mean, marketing always had a responsibility, but I think today more than ever before, there's higher expectations of marketing to deliver qualified leads. And I think the simple reason of this is the audience has changed, right? The buyers have changed. Now today, no matter what product or service you're buying, you do 70-80% of your research before you ever speak to a salesperson, right? Just because there's so much information out there. In the old days, you didn't have internet, you didn't have this digital content that you could access. So you had to speak to a salesperson to get the information, to get educated, and then you could make a buying decision. But today there's so much information out there, and AI just exponentially makes information that much more available to you. People do so much research in advance that they're almost making a buying decision, or they're qualifying themselves before they speak to sales. And that, by definition, is kind of a marketing responsibility, right? They've got to manage the content, manage the message, make sure there's lots of access to the right information, so that by the time the buyer and the salesperson meet and speak, there's already a high level of education, and it's a much more intelligent conversation.
Yeah, I think I would go a little further there. That statement probably was still true for most of us a couple of years back, where 70% of research was done by the buyer. And I think now that percentage has gone up more, because I would say more than half of the load of doing that research is now done by AI, right? All these chat GPTs, Perplexity, they have a research mode and they go mm, too far to go and get that exact research done and make the decision. So the user is, I think, more aware, more prepared than ever in this modern era. So help me understand how this turns into a challenge from a sales leader point of view. So this is what is happening. I understand this is what's happening. This is how people are buying today. Break it down in two or three challenges of a sales leader today who is managing a group of team members, and how that challenges are generally solved today by the leaders based on what you have met and spoken to people.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, so I gave you a couple of examples of challenges around generating more pipeline, getting more qualified leads, right? I think there's a few other challenges. And you mentioned COVID, right? And COVID changed how people sell, just because everybody immediately around the world had to get in front of a computer screen, right, and sell remotely, right? The face-to-face traditional selling, I mean, it disappeared completely there for a little while. But even still after COVID, I think people are comfortable conducting sales meetings online, video, maybe on the telephone, but it's mostly a video experience today. And so people, you've got to be able to adapt, right? Like everybody overnight had to adapt to a remote world. And salespeople, I think, have evolved nicely because they've all gotten used to selling over a video screen, communicating digitally. And I think it's important. You've got to be able to communicate with the customer how they want to speak and meet with you, whether it's a video meeting, maybe it's a phone call, maybe it's over email, maybe it's over, digital assets that you can share with them so they can learn. So you've got to be flexible enough to kind of communicate with the buyers how they want to be communicated with. And again, all the different age groups and generations now have different preferences on how they want to interact, right? So sales leaders have to be flexible. You got to be able to basically accommodate whatever their preference is. So I think that's an important skill that they've learned to adapt to. um, I still hear concerns about forecasting accuracy and being able to predict deals and revenue, right? And so I think there's a real opportunity for AI to fill some of those needs. And if again, AI adoption is a big concern for people, and I'll park that for a bit. We'll get back to that one, but certainly AI is a huge opportunity for sales leaders and sales teams to bring that technology in and help them be more productive and be more efficient. And the other thing it speaks to is a skill development, right? So as companies bring more and more AI solutions into the table, you've got to train the staff. And in this case, we're talking about sales teams and sales leaders, right? So you've really got to be able to adapt to the new environment and make sure that you're upskilling your team so that they can be as productive as possible with all the tools that are available to them.
Cool. Let me ask you some pinpointed questions, which basically then users can relate on how what we are trying to do. There is a hypothesis with which I started AI Accelerate this year, coming from a go-to-market background, and you also jumped in purely because you come from that background and you believe along with us that, hey, we have something to solve this in the real world. So what you just explained, from going from COVID till now, all the things, there are certain patterns which is there in hypothesis, and you tell me whether those are really relatable from a sales point of view as a sales leader, right? Post COVID, everybody wants to do meetings online. Totally get it. That led to more meetings at the first place. That is how we are seeing the world, right? We are working more in fact.
Yeah, you're right.
Uh,
You can do machine gun meetings all day long,
absolutely.
every day, every hour, right? So yeah.
So imagine a sales guy who is booked meetings back to back with your prospects. When do they get time to do the remaining post-sales activities? So these are two things which basically really relates and hits hard in the modern world. How do you see that? Is it adding more hours on the people? Is it does that delay the sales cycles because now they don't have time? What are the things you see from a sales point of view?
It's a great question, right? So certainly, the age of video meetings has meant, in my experience, anyways, more meetings all back to back, like you said, less time to do the other work, right? So I think maybe possibly what's happened is that other work that they used to have time to do is not getting done, right? I mean, talking about proposal generations, really diving in, understanding customer requirements, right? When people have meetings, I mean, it usually starts with a Q&A with the customer and what they're looking for and kind of qualifying it a little bit. But with less time available, I think they're not processing or not capturing the client needs as well as maybe they used to. And again, I think the old mindset of comprehensive sales proposals has kind of gone out the window because they don't have time to create that content as well. And let's face it, buyers don't have as much time as they used to read and digest all that content too. So you've had to adapt and be more nimble. And I think it maybe has resulted in less quality of sales engagements. I don't know if that's fair or not, but again, the buyers and the sellers have shifted their behavior. So everybody's trying to make the best use of their time.
So, just to park this particular topic, you agree as a sales leader that uh, the meetings have gone up, the work has gone up, and we expect more from less nowadays, and that results into a delay in sales cycles because the sales reps are busy doing meetings and less to do those other things, and
That's
that
fair.
basically adds a point. So that's one. Let's park this as a known problem or challenge. The second I would ask is how typically you have been structuring your teams all these years. Give me a breakup of if you had to lead a team of 15 sales rep and get this much sales or leads. I know you have a nice philosophy of an equation or a funnel through, but talk to me about the inside sales, the account managers, the hunters, farmers, and then who are the experts who support these things? What is a good structure which you recommend? And what is that structure which keeps going up linear as your business grows, right? So we all know that it's always great to have a exponential type of model where the cost of people does not grow, but business keeps growing. But when it comes to sales and pre-sales and sales engineers, that's not probably true. So what has been your practice? What do you see and how that structure is?
Yeah, so I've led many sales teams over the years, right? Many different companies, always in tech, but different organizations, right? Different philosophies. But um, I'm a big believer in segregating hunters from farmers, right? And then in recent years, this whole concept of customer success really started to rise, right? So I would say the best practice that I've seen and that I still believe in is organizing the organization really into three groups. One group is hunting. That's all they do, right? And again, I've managed all different teams where all the roles have been blurred, and I've had a chance to see kind of these different models in action. But my experience says if you separate hunters and you just let them hunt and reward them for hunting, you get the best results, right? They're very, very focused. They become exceptional at delivering the value prop and qualifying people and getting them signed up, getting them in the door, right? If you ask a hunter to do that and then also do farming activities, I think it diminishes their hunting skills, right? And probably does a disservice to the farming that needs to get done. So because of that, you also have a group of farmers that maybe are not quite as good at hunting, but they're exceptional at cross-selling, upselling, identifying sales opportunities, right? That maybe other people may have missed. So that farming label, I think, is important. That you're always growing the customer base and upselling and cross-selling and generating more revenue from your existing customers. And then that third group is that customer success team, which is not really salespeople. There's different schools of thought on whether you pay customer success people like salespeople or not. But in my mind, the customer success people are really just their priority is making sure the customers are delighted, right? Happy with the experience, not churning, right? Just the voice of the customer, making sure the feedback from the customer gets pushed all the way up to the top of the org. So I think if you manage an organization very well balanced between hunting, farming, and that customer success function, I think you've got a very well balanced, high performing team that really covers all your bases.
Yeah, I would agree. This is purely from a sales angle. I've led a marketplace team, roles, and we both have worked in the same companies for last decade. Uh, a slight different view I have, and I got opportunity to learn those things differently as well. I think the way I see from a different angle, which is purely coming from SaaS, cloud, and technology and platform, is today, at least fast forward today, I see three groups which is becoming mature, especially in the tech industry. The non-tech absolutely still goes with that philosophy of what you just explained. The tech industry has, I think the farmers are now turning into customer success managers because now they're taking the responsibility of farming all the way to taking care and delighting the customers. So that's one thing which I would say. hunters are still the hunters, right? But there is one more layer which has formed into the industry, which is the SDR function. They are not hunters; they are like pre-hunters. They find the target, inform the hunter, and then hunter goes and hunts it. I think that one extra layer has started interestingly coming up, and that's what we're seeing, especially in the tech industries. What do you think you see in tech and non-tech customers? Do you see the same patterns growing? People are buying these SDR ideas?
Yeah, by SDR you mean sales development rep, right? That's what you're talking
Yes.
about, that role.
Yes.
When I say hunters, I'm kind of parking those different
All in
functions
one thing.
in one label, but they're essentially it's the responsibility of going out and finding brand new customers, finding prospects, qualifying them, bringing them back, and obviously closing the sale and handing it
Cool.
over to the farming organization, right? So but it makes it easier today because there's so many digital tools that are available to help with prospecting, right? And you can easily get confused. There's so many different companies promising prospecting help, and some of it is pay for performance, and some of it you got to buy lots and lots of software up front and everything. There's different ways to do it, but the point is there are absolutely digital tools available, AI tools that can help people become more efficient, more productive at prospecting. And if sales leaders and sales teams are not investigating these tools, that's a shame because there's so many of them out there that do a good job.
Cool. Let's move. You touched upon AI. How about what do you think in, at least in North America to begin with? We cannot answer for the whole world. You are in Canada, I'm in US, so we both can speak up for that. You worked in the whole North America space more than me. What do you think you see as the AI usage and adoption in sales organizations, the go-to-market organizations? Where do you see the highest adoption, and what kind of tools we are talking about where the sales leaders are actually saying, hey, this is really helpful, this is what we are using, and so on?
Yeah, I think it's interesting, right? So AI has been out for a couple of years now, and a lot of companies have tried it. Some of them are using it. Some of them are using it very well. Some of them are not, right? So it's all the maturity and the adoption is all over the place. But from what I've seen, and again, I've had the opportunity to speak with a lot of different sales leaders recently, and I think generally I can say like this, the big companies like Microsoft and Google and some of the other big tech companies have done a good job introducing AI tools to employees so they can take them and start using them. And I think it's fair to say a lot of the salespeople and sales teams are using AI. Um, but when you say, "Are you using AI?" They'll say yes, and you'll say, "Well, explain to me how you're using it." I think most of them are using it like a chat tool, or like a search engine, right? Where you pull up a Microsoft Copilot or a Chat GPT, and you're asking it very simple questions, and it's giving you very simple, very good, very accurate answers. And they think they're thrilled because their expectations are low, and they're using it for very simple tasks, and it's working for the most part. So they think they're using AI properly, right? And maybe they are. All I would say is, and you and I both know this, the potential, the promise of AI is so much more that if people are just simply satisfied using it like a toy, they're completely missing out on the higher potential of what AI can deliver. So I have yet to meet sales leaders and sales teams that I would say are fully and properly using AI to drive more sales for them. Most of them are still at the experimental stage where they're kind of playing around.
Can I say that I'm looking at one sales leader who's really starting to use the AI tools?
You can say that, and we'll get into some examples of our AI tech that we've built in our sales agent, right? But and that's a great example because literally in the last 60 to 90 days, as we've adopted our own technology, it is making us fathoms more productive than we ever were before. So
Why don't you talk about some of the challenges which we were facing and how we turned that into a good use case for using our own tools? Because I think while we always want to help the customers, I think we solve our own problem with our tools. Tell me, what was one of the frustrating things which used to take
Yeah, I
time?
mean, we're a startup, right? So by definition, we're starting from zero, and you're building a customer base, a prospect base. And so literally we're faced with all the classic challenges of a sales organization trying to find prospects, qualify them, manage the deals, close the deals, get customers on board. So you know this, right? We didn't have a prospecting engine, right? So we tried to do some classic prospecting, just kind of manually reaching out and contacting people from our network. We've tried a few of those digital tools before we had our own agents built, right? And had limited success with those tools. But I'd say that the prospecting priority forced us to get very, very focused and serious about the prospecting capabilities that we're building in our own agents. And now we can say that functionality is live and we're using our own agents to help us prospect. It's already made a world of difference, right? And another example is just using our agents when we were meeting with people. People are using these note taker tools, right? Those have become pretty popular, the Fireflies and the Fellows and that sort of thing. And again, those tools are really great, but they're very limited in what they do. And if you raise your expectations, all of a sudden you can start to build things that really do what you need. And we'll get into the Agent Joy discussion in a little bit, but it helped us really shape the features and capabilities of our own AI agents because we were trying to manage opportunities and kind of doing it the hard way, the old school way until we built the tech. And now that we're using it, again, we're fathoms more productive. I believe the single biggest opportunity for sales leaders is using AI properly, right? And there's a lot of different ways to do that, right? We talked about prospecting capabilities, right? Enhancing your prospecting abilities. We talked about managing deals and using information around you to make you more productive in deals. You can research your customers so much more easily and so much more accurately today using AI that's around you. There's just, when people are limited with headcount, right? Again, I've never met a sales leader that says, "No, I don't need any more salespeople. I got enough," right? Everybody wants more salespeople and better quality salespeople, but headcount restrictions are kind of, commonplace across the board now. So if you can't hire more people, how do you become more productive? Technology is the way. For decades now, people have gotten more productivity with less headcount, right? And that statement has never been truer than it is today. I mean, the number one thing for sure is raise your expectations on what AI can do for you, right? Get out of the mindset of AI are just these simple little tools and start to think about AI as being fully productive salespeople that will prospect for you, will qualify deals for you, will manage deals, automate the ordering process. I mean, they're literally AI can I'm not going to say replace salespeople, but almost do the role of a full salesperson, right? Allow you to augment your team, expand your sales team without actually having to hire more headcount. So raise your expectations, go do some research, go find out what the opportunities are around you. And, I'll go back to something I said earlier, which is most people do all their research up front now before ever speaking to a salesperson because there's so much information out there, right? In my opinion, um, AI might be the exception to this, and here's why I say that. And you and I have seen this in real life, right? There's so much noise about AI out there that people try to do research in advance, try to understand it, but it's so new that people don't quite grasp onto what it can do. And I find our best performance has been when we can speak to people live and within minutes kind of educate them on our view of AI and the agentic approach. And live conversations, from what you and I have seen, really have enlightened people. The light bulbs start going off. The understanding, actually, you can see it in their eyes that once you explain, they finally understand, right? And then they're excited, and then they're good to go. So this may be one opportunity where you can't really do all the necessary research in advance. You have to get and speak to people and get somebody to explain it to you in layman's terms so that you really understand what the opportunity is.
True, true. All right. Shall we switch to showing our audience or talking about how we have started our journey to solve these problems?
Yeah, I think so. It's a good segue, right? So we talked about the challenges of sales leaders. We've certainly hyped up that AI can solve a lot of the challenges, right? And we've taken real world lessons that you and I have experienced over the course of our careers, but most recently as we've been building AI Xccelerate. And so I think it's wise to share some of the features that we've developed in our own agents and our own tech that are absolutely available right now, real time, to help sales leaders and sales teams become more productive. So as you know, as the head of the engineering team and really the guy controlling the product direction in our roadmap, um, I'm going to ask you about some of the features that
Sure,
we've launched, or including some of the ones that we're working on that are on their immediate roadmap. So why don't I throw some features out at you, and you explain to the audience kind of what
sure,
these capabilities do and how they can help them, right? We talked a lot about prospecting, right? So why don't you talk about the prospecting capabilities that we've built in our AI sales agent Joy? She can automatically prospect and qualify opportunities. But why don't you explain to the audience exactly what
sure,
we've built and how
sure.
it works?
Yeah. So you spoke about how, and I also agree, everybody we talk, they all want more business, more customers, more leads. But in the last few years, it has become more challenging because the sales went from, in the past, door to door, cold, barge in type of sales, which I've done. I've just walked into a office in past, probably 15, 20 years ago, but it no longer works. We cannot do cold calling. We cannot do all of these. So social selling has become the norm in the last few years. And now it is becoming more challenging to prospect because now you need to do it in a totally different way. And how did we try to solve this, right? The, the hunters which you spoke about, the hunters now can be equipped with Agent Joy's prospecting capabilities. All the sales rep has to do is point in the right direction. One of the terms which I think has evolved so well in the last few years, and everybody now understands this, is ICP. ICP stands for Ideal Customer Profile. And this is nothing new. There is no rocket science behind ICP. It's just a method to clearly identify who is your target audience, who is your target customer, prospect, persona, and all of those. What we have done is, using that, we have basically put some good technology components in together from an AI agentic point of view and discovery point of view, where if you know only three things, as a sales rep, actually three things is very easy to find. One, work email. If you know your prospect, you need your work email. If you come across that, that's one thing you need. Two, which is more obvious, which is LinkedIn profile of that prospect which you want to go after. And this is when you know your contact, right? If you don't know your contact, there is another term which has been coined in the industry of marketing, which is called ABM. ABM is account-based marketing. And we have made it extremely simple for a sales rep to do that. All you need to know is domain name of the company. That's it. If you know your domain name of the prospect customer, just put the domain name, and what Joy starts doing is to go find the right people whom you want to reach out and starts doing enrichment of their profile, of the contact, of the company, and then start reaching out over LinkedIn or email or over the phone call. But this is how it does. And the most important thing it does is it books the meeting for the sales rep. This is done at a sales rep level where one-on-one account management and hunting is required to be done. And the actual journey of Joy starts from there once the meeting is booked. So this is basically the prospecting piece. Every time we show, or I show this to seasoned sales leaders, they say, oh, wow, this is really offloading a big amount of time which requires in reaching out and doing those activities. So you spoke about research of the prospect. This is done at scale. And then reaching out and prospecting and booking the meeting. This is done at scale with Agent Joy.
And we've built the prospecting capability to be multifunctional, right? In other words, our agents can prospect by LinkedIn messages. They can prospect by sending emails. They can also prospect by making phone calls, right? Or all the above, any combination of any of those features, right? So
Yes, in
it's a
fact,
really cool feature because, again,
yeah,
people want to be communicated with in their own preferred way. Maybe some people prefer to be phoned. Other people prefer email only, right? So whatever their preference is, we can accommodate that with our prospecting.
absolutely. One is preferences. The second is agent takes the dynamic decision which prospect. If the person is more active on LinkedIn, it'll start with LinkedIn. If the person is not active on LinkedIn, it'll do both, and vice versa. So this is how things are really looking at when it comes to outreach or business development activities through Joy.
Very good. Um, Another feature we've built, we call it the product expert feature, right? So, again, being in the sales business for many years, I don't know how many sales meetings I've been in with prospects, but it's thousands at this point. And there's, the scenario is well known, right? A sales rep gets into a meeting with a customer. Sometimes they don't know the answers to the questions. Maybe it's a highly technical questions that are coming at them, or just highly specialized in their product, and they can't answer the questions themselves. So typically, what that sales rep has to do is park the questions and say, I'm going to get back to you on this. I have to go ask a whole bunch of people, and I'll send you the answers later. Maybe sometimes the sales rep just makes up answers off the top of their head, which is never ideal, right? But anyways, it slows the sales cycle down when customers
It
start
does.
that the salesperson can't answer, slows everything down until they can get those answers back, right? But we've developed a product expert feature that takes care of that. Why don't you explain how that works?
Yeah, absolutely. The biggest differentiator of closing a deal is how quickly you can answer customers' queries, clarification, and questions. This becomes easy for a seasoned salesperson and experienced salesperson, but not everybody is at the same levels. All our junior salespeople, when they start going up the ladder, they start their career, they are not expert on every product. In fact, the sales rep is not required to be an expert on everything because their primary job is to manage relationship. And as you rightly said, they cannot answer some questions. Sometimes they bluff. Sometimes they park the questions, they get the right person, or book a second meeting. And in the modern world, finding a meeting with 3-4 people's availability is a big challenge. It's no longer how it used to be 10 years ago. So what we ended up doing is we built an AI agent, which is a voice agent powered with a lot of knowledge of that company, which we can train about that product or a service or anything. And this agent can be brought into the meetings anytime by the sales rep in front of the customer. This is a actual active agent which can talk. So in a meeting, online meeting like Zoom, Google Meet, or Microsoft Teams meeting, just bring the agent. Agent will listen to the conversation and immediately answer any questions if they have. And the agent can go to the deepest technical levels if needed, or any deepest sales knowledge which is needed, like licensing questions and compliance questions, technical questions, and so on. It not only does come on online meetings, it can do a phone call, which means if ever you end up talking to your customer over a phone, inbound or outbound, you can just conference the agent, and agent can join the three-way conference call and does the same thing. And then if you are an in-person meeting, just dial the agent on the phone and put it on speaker and it'll do the job.
Amazing.
So, sorry, excuse me. So that's how we have built this. Our product expert is basically a AI agent, voice agent, which we train for the organization for their products. Just think of this like a pre-sales or a sales engineer of your organization. That is how it is.
Amazing. And the advantage is you can get all the questions answered quickly on the spot by a highly trained, highly knowledgeable AI agent, always available to answer questions, right? And you can have multiple product experts working at a company simultaneously, right? In any
Yes.
language, right? In any style of communication, like we've been saying. So, what a great feature.
That's the exciting part, right? So what really stands this whole thing out is it can join at the same time up to 15 meetings, which is not the case. If it is a human who is an expert, that human can be only in one place at the same time. Two, it can dynamically switch multiple languages, which means if you want to take the agent in an audience who is somebody's speaking English, somebody's Spanish, somebody's speaking French, it can switch languages to all.
Very good. There's another cool feature that we've developed, right? So we've already talked about a product expert joining a meeting, listening to the meeting, digesting all of the information that's been discussed in a meeting. What about afterwards when you want to recall the meeting and kind of go back and refresh your memory on what happened? We've got a whole bunch of cool documents and kind of post meeting, content that we can generate, right? Why don't you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. So we spoke about the modern age problem, which is you used a word called, what is it called? Machine gun meetings. It is back-to-back meetings. That is how we have become. A day goes where you have up to 8 meetings or 10 meetings sometimes, and you are exhausted by the end of the day after the meetings. And there's no time to do document generation, email proposals, and all of those things. This is exactly what we ended up trying to address with Agent Joy post-meeting action. So after every meeting, based on the transcript, we produce requirement documents, we produce proposal documents, which is all trained and created with your company standards, customers' company standards. It also does analysis of the call from a sales qualification point of view. It also coaches the salesperson by giving some feedback of what he or she did better and what they could improve. And finally, you can trigger a nice instant offer, which can be quickly signed by the customer, and you can grab the order if the discussion was very hot. So these are a bunch of features which we have built, and the whole idea is to save 40 to 60% time of the sales rep, which goes in doing all these non-customer engagement activities, which is requirement generation, sales proposal, and all of those.
Amazing. I like the you talked briefly about the offer function that we've built, right? So I just want to clarify, our AI agent, our sales agent, also helps automate and accelerate the sign off process, right? Whether that means some companies are using DocuSign and electronic signature tools, which our AI agents can integrate with and actually fast track that. We've also got an offer app built in, so you can actually send out digital online quotes, which people can accept real time, click to accept, and place the order electronically, right? Again, if people have their own tools that do this, we'll integrate there. But we also we've built those tools. So if they're not using kind of in-house tools, our agents can deliver that functionality, right, and speed up the sign-off process.
Yeah. So I think the way you want to see the message is this is not going to replace any of your tool. This is going to add more capabilities and enhance the capability of your sales tools. We are not replacing any CRM. In fact, our platform works with every CRM in the industry nowadays. It will sync the opportunities. It will do all of those. It will update CRM, by the way. That's the most boring
I was
thing.
going to say, don't gloss over that. I've never met a sales leader yet that says my CRM is perfectly updated. My sales reps they're so fast at updating. Like, that is a pain point. That is a friction point for almost every sales leader out there, right?
Absolutely.
Their CRM being outdated is the point. We've solved that, right? Explain that a little bit more.
Yeah. So what happens is once the lead or an opportunity is in, the biggest problem is The sales rep is so busy doing meetings and pushing the deal to the next level. It is all in their head. They know exactly what is going on with every deal. But the most important piece the company expect them to do is to update the CRM so that it gets the visibility to everybody, and then we can make some informed decisions. The problem there is not as, and I've not met a sales guy who says, "Oh, I love updating CRM." It's something which everybody struggles with. What we have done is, based on the conversations, Agent Joy gathers all the right information on every meeting the sales rep has with the prospect, and then automatically goes and updates the relevant fields and conversations in your CRM automatically. And this saves a ton of time and headaches for the sales rep so that they can focus on meetings, customers, and close the deals.
Amazing. I mean, that feature alone, game changer, right? So sales leaders can always have confidence that their pipeline is updated, the most accurate information, right? Hot off the press, and yeah, what a great feature. Um, let's park it there, right? That's a lot of features. That's a lot of functions we've described in our AI Sales Agent Joy. And I just want to clarify something for the audience here. We just ran through a whole bunch of different features. Um, that's not multiple sales agents. That's one sales agent, our AI Sales Agent Joy, that does all of those things, right? In other words, buy one agent from us and you get access to all of those capabilities all in one shot. It's pretty exciting, game changing stuff. And we can say this with confidence because we're using it for ourselves and we're the best advocates of it, right? So
Yeah. Yeah.
pretty exciting times. So let's maybe we'll wrap things up. Like it's been a great conversation talking about sales challenges, what sales leaders and sales teams are going through, what they're experiencing today. We've talked about the opportunity that AI represents, and now we've given some very specific examples of tech, our tech in this case, that can solve a lot of those problems, right? So, at the very least, we would invite sales leaders that are listening to this, like give us a call, right? Let's book a quick meeting. I said earlier we can explain things very very well in a live conversation. So let's get in a meeting here, ask us questions, learn. Um, Worst case, you go away with some great knowledge and some great education. Best case, you may get access to some technology that will literally change your productivity overnight. So there's no harm, there's no risk. Let's have a conversation. Book a meeting with us, and we'll continue the conversation with you.
Absolutely. Yeah, it has been a great conversation. So, for our audience, to summarize, don't remember all the things. Just remember three things about Agent Joy. It helps you book meetings for your sales rep. It basically goes ahead and does a bunch of things post sales meeting. And then, wherever the sales rep falls short when it comes to product knowledge, Agent Joy comes in as a product expert, available 24 bar 7, multiple languages, multiple meetings at the same time. So these are three things which you can remember. And if any of these things are your pain points, talk to us. We can help you. AI cannot or does not have to be complex. It's such a lot of information going on out there, so much noise that everybody can get lost here, and we understand that. So we have been doing all that heavy lift. Combined, me and my team have spent at least 2,000 hours in learning this damn technology and keeping up with that. And that, you don't have to do it. We have done it, we have figured out. So directly take the benefits of it, and we can explain things which took us 4 months to figure out. We can explain you in a fast 1 hour meeting so that you can get back to your business and do what you're doing really the best and leave the technology to us. So, as I say, we are in the business of building agent and managing agent or AI workforce for our customers. Just give us a call. We'll be more than happy to help all of you to not only educate you, but see how we can improve your productivity, profitability with AI workforce.
Awesome. Always a pleasure speaking with you, hanging out with you, and let's that's a wrap for our very first podcast of a big series coming up. So awesome. Thanks for
Thank you.
tuning in,
Bye.
and we'll talk soon.